Two times I was thinking of it.
Left-hander, no?
Namaste, sir.
Namaste. Hey, who is this?
I'm Rupa, sir.
Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Others will come.
Abhyasa vairagya abhyam tannirodha. That means basically the idea of yoga is divided into these two essential parts. One is the Abhyasa and the other is the vairagya. And Abhyasa, roughly we translate it into discipline. Vairagya translate non-attachment. And this has been agreed upon by all the sages right from the Veda period. Bhagavad Gita and Yoga Vasishtha also says, Patanjali also says that Abhyasa Vairagya Abhyam, the Nirodha. Nirodha happens because of Abhyasa Vairagya. Why they have agreed with these two things, why this two is important is that nature works in these two ways. The nature, when you look at it, you see that Abhyasa is the discipline is there everywhere in the nature, which last time we have seen elaborately. And another thing is that what is this Abhyasa we require is particularly when it comes to the human being. That is, minus this Abhyasa, minus the discipline, we flow downwards. Abhyasa will help us to go in the upper direction. So therefore that we require this Abhyasa because we need to grow. In the case of human being, that we need to grow. In the case of other species, they are born perfect. A cat is born perfect. A dog is born perfect. A cow is born perfect as cow. Cow doesn't have to become a cow. They just follow whatever it is there. Like for example, in the species of animal that you see that who are vegetarian, they're vegetarian by nature. It's not that you need to train them to become vegetarian. Nobody trains them. Similarly, the animals which are non-vegetarian, they eat non-vegetarian. That's all. Just because that a non-vegetarian is not available, it does not mean that a tiger will go and eat grass somewhere. Okay, let me fill myself with this. So I do some amount of naturopathy. It's nothing like that because it's nature by nature. It is there. And there also that this another thing is that there's a limit in that. How much they eat, how much they don't necessarily exceed on that. This is what is there in all the species in the nature. So in the case of human being is the only thing that we require certain discipline because that basically otherwise we can slip down. That's a whole possibility about the human being. That's the reason why we require there is in other species there is an inbuilt check that is there, but in human being that inbuilt check is not there. And we need to develop the check from the outside. That's why basically the idea of Abhyasa comes into the picture in the human being. Again, that Abhyasa has to come from within, so that what happens is that this Abhyasa, we don't hate that Abhyasa, we get used to that Abhyasa. Later on, slowly, Abhyasa becomes our way of life. It's not the question of we are disciplining, that becomes like our way of life. That's the way that we do it. See, that's why basically that in the childhood days, that means in the uh, Brahmacharya ashrama itself, Abhyasa is given from that time onwards in various aspects that are there, whether it is the food, whether it is the quality of food, whether it is the way of life that you live, everything is governed by this Abhyasa. So that means to say that Abhyasa is for sake of a growth. That's why whatever that is useful for your shreyas, good for you, is made an Abhyasa for you, right from the childhood. Whatever that is given that way right from the childhood, then that Abhyasa does not become like a burden on you. Whereas If you don't give early on, then later on it becomes a burden. It becomes like a duress. It becomes like a pressure on you. So therefore, that they used to give this right from the childhood. That's how we introduce yoga at the childhood days. It does not mean introducing some sarvangasana, some vakrasana, chakrasana. It's not that. It's the idea of abhyasa that's important. But there's another thing that's important. That is, if the abhyasa does not become like your way of life, then this abhyasa can have two different problems. One is that you're waiting for when situation comes that you can uh, come out of it. You can get the freedom from that. How long should I do it? Is there a way that I can come out of it? You're waiting for that. That means transformation has not occurred if it is not coming from within. The second thing what can happen is that one can become cynical. There is another very important aspect of it that you see that fellow doesn't have control. This fellow doesn't have control. He doesn't do all those things. He is not like this. He is not like that. You find fault with the people. This because basically that your abhyasa has become your arrogance. Arrogance is that which is only lepa outside. It has not entered into your personality. That's why we have the idea called as the growth has to happen from within. That is why we have in the Smrityunjaya mantra saying that Ruvarakamiva bandhanan mrityor mukshiyam amrutat. When can it happen? It can happen. Sugandhim pushtivardhanam urvarukamiva bandhanat. That means to say a raw fruit becomes the ripened. Then only it leaves the tree. So that bandhana comes out of it only when it ripens from within. It is not coming out of it is important, but ripening is very important. The focus is on the ripening. And ripening happens only from within. So therefore, this whole practice of abhyasa is for ripening. So that's why basically the idea of abhyasa, that is discipline, is something which is very important. Now, discipline has to be given in a measured way, in such a way that it can slowly develop your ability to sustain that. This is what Shankaracharya says, that titiksha is developed. That means to say your stamina is developed only when you give it little by little, step by step, to see that saharam sarva dukkhanam apratikara purvakam chinta vilaparhitam. You give in such a way that doses that it can be developed into titiksha, your tolerance, your personality. So that's why we have a measured way of giving this discipline for that. In fact, we have historically also, Puranically also, that we have such examples like that, that in order to achieve the highest goal, that Parvati wanted to do penance. That's what is abhyasa. And discipline is to leave food. In the beginning, she was only taking leaves, and afterwards she gave up that leaf also. That's why her name of Aparna came to the picture. Parna means leaf, so he gave up. Then she was only living on the water, then also that she gave up. So like that, there is a stages of development that is there. It can be possible. Don't bring in the idea of the total discipline in the beginning itself, because that system may not be able to take it. Therefore, we have to develop slowly, just like the way that we do it in the other case, other education system also. In the beginning, we teach only the alphabets. Then we slowly teach them how to construct letters into a word. So they see the words. Children, once they know all the alphabets, the daily newspaper comes, they look at the newspaper, they say, this A, this B, this P, this K, this C. I know everything. What dad reads, I also know. I don't know why dad has to get the newspaper every day. It's the same letters that are there. He doesn't understand that. Then he knows that I construct these words from that. Then sentences, all those things. Then finally gets into politics, that's a different issue. But little by little, step by step, we try to give that, whether it is that way or whether it is the food that we give. In the childhood days, children food, baby food is something which is so very mild. It hardly has any taste, it's hardly any this thing. But for the child palate, that's what is important. We have to build up the palate. So slowly, all these things, you see that everywhere in the nature. Why not the same thing in the form of discipline of the mind also? Can we do it? So that's what he said, that abhyasa Has to be given that way, little by little, stage by stage. Some people can take early, some people can take late. So all these things to be done. But another very important aspect of discipline is that if only discipline is insisted, then the discipline can also work in a wrong way. That's why we have people like Hitler, Ravana, etc., etc. They were also great yogis, Mahayogis. But look at what happened ultimately. And that's what when Ravana is dying, Mandodari comes there. It's such a beautiful incident. I heard that. Rama is standing there wondering, such a great man, he's dying, feeling sad about his death. He only killed him. Then meanwhile, Mandodari's shadow falls on his feet. And then suddenly turns around, Mandodari, his wife, immediately bows in front of Mandodari and says that I'm so sorry. I know that I suppose that you are the wife of Ravana. I have to kill him. He's a great yogi, he's a great this thing. He has conquered the, Swarga, this, that, so many things, all that thing he has done. More than that, he is also knowledgeable, he's Mahagyani. With all those things, I have to kill him. Then I'm so sorry. And then Mandodari says that I came here to see that what all that you said about my husband is very true. He's a Mahagyani, he's a Mahatapasvi, and he conquered all over the world. He's absolutely all those things. Such a great person and Mahayodha. With all those things, who could kill my husband? I was really curious about that. That's why I myself came here to see you. And then I'm convinced. What made you convinced? He says that simple thing is that you're also Jnani, you're also Yodha, you're also Tapasvi. Everything is there. But only the difference is that he has no respect for the other's wife, whereas you have respect for me also. Even though he has abducted your wife, he respected for me. Therefore, I'm satisfied. She says, I'm satisfied that he was killed in the hands of you. So I respect you. See, that means basically that all the discipline can make somebody into a Ravan. All the discipline can make somebody into a Bhasmasur. So therefore, basically, we find fault with Shiva, saying that Shiva has given boon for these people. No, that you have done the work, that you passed the exam. Shiva has nothing to do with that. But you wanted it, okay, I give it. But one thing is what happens is that if your attempt is in the wrong direction, that destroys the world. The main problem with the negativity is that it not only destroys the world, in the process, you also get destroyed.
It's like moving to prayer sessions.
Yes, it's the way it is. So, therefore, basically, discipline alone is something that if you insist on, then you can drift in so many different ways. So many different ways because basically that we have the discipline can be in so many different areas. Like, for example, eating can be disciplined, your talking can be disciplined, this can be disciplined. How many different ways that you can discipline it? In fact, in this culture, we have all those things that are there. So anywhere, any aspect of it you can find a loophole to go in the wrong direction. Such a great person, like for example, that we have the the great the great saintly king and everything he was there. Not Janaka. The because of this Vamana Avtara has come. Bali Chakravarti. Bali, in fact, in some areas, even till today, Bali is considered as somebody who is a great saint. Even now it is like that, particularly Kerala. They're wonderful. I like that idea that they consider him as a saintly person. And that's why he is such an extraordinary, wonderful person. But look at the way that his very arrogance. There's one because of which that he has to be put down. And that's why Vamana comes and then puts him down. So the gap between the ultimate reality and the slip can be so little, so small that you can slip even at the last moment. Even in the last moment, you can really. And that's what, in fact, Vivekananda says very beautifully when You see, he is a great yogi, great tapasvi, and all those things, and realization. With all those things, he had a great oratory, great knowledge. In fact, we have heard so many things about him saying that he just looks at the book, he takes the photographic memory. All that is there. But in spite of all those things, and because of all those things, that the attraction that he had, the power that he had at the Parliament of World Religion, is that so many were there against him, absolutely against him. But in spite of it, he stood there and became popular overnight. Overnight, in 10 minutes, that people started applauding him, became a hero of the Parliament. That night, Vivekananda sat down and he was crying. He says to the Divine Mother Sharda Devi, saying that, let this not my popularity, not become my ego, not shine me in the way that I become arrogance. No, this is basically the service of Sharda Devi and Ramakrishna that I'm doing it. It's not me. He cried that night because even that time he could have been like the extraordinary, wonderful world leader, but then look at the way that humility that he had. Even at that point in time, it can. So just mere tapasya will lead you into the wrong direction. So tapasya has to take you towards the idea of what is that which takes you into the world in the wrong direction, is that tapas gains that you have will lead you towards the material gain. Because the whole idea is Shreyas is something which is going inwards or in the upwards. Prayas is something which is going downwards or which is going to be the outward. So again, if all these gains are going to go in the outward direction, that means what is use of all this gain? So unless until it goes in the inward direction or upward direction, then only it is useful. And that's why all other things that are there outside are not important. Anything, the fame, money, name, this, that, nothing is important. That's what Upanishad says very strongly. Na karmana na praja dhanena tyagena kyamritattva manusha. You can reach amritattva only by tyaga, nothing else. Tyaga is turning inwards. How beautifully Upanishad again and again says that. So therefore, that all this sadhana will take us towards the vairagya for the outside world. Vairagya from there. So therefore, an abhyasa is that which simultaneously gets converted into vairagya. An abhyasa which does not convert into vairagya, it is not an abhyasa at all. It's again some jugglery that we are making. And we can see again and again how people have turned into themselves into like that. So therefore, we have to become. That's why Patanjali or Yoga Sutras and all that, everybody says that Abhyasa Vairagyabhyam Tandipada. That's why I gave last time also. There is a very clear mention that Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagyena cha Gruhyate. Vairagya has to be there. In fact, in the Bhagavad Gita, in one of the sutras also, it says that discipline is what you do. At the same time, it should be the upper direction, higher direction that you say is that with the whole idea that in Bhagavad Gita gives is that you see that Indriya, you jitendriya, but at the same time you see that you turn towards inward. It's not that you go towards the higher goal. That's why I say Parama Shanti. Parama Shanti direction, if you have to go, then that's why basically these disciplines are there, go towards that Parama Shanti. So this is what is the idea that again and again Abhyasa Vairagya has to be done. Now they go hand in hand, then only it can grow in the upper direction. Like for example, as I said, a natural Vairagya is to go, natural Vairagya is going in the upper direction. Like for example, a child has so many things attached to him, but the moment that he outgrows that, then naturally he doesn't require that. That means basically Vairagya happens within him, that he goes into the higher degree of perception. Perception has changed. This is what is important. If you don't develop that way, then you are always a child. When you are a child, fine. But when you are adult and child, then it is childish. It's nothing like a growth. So this growth, Abhyasa has to go in vairagya way. Vairagya has to be complemented. Therefore, actually, vairagya is given the basic importance than the Abhyasa. So these two things are important. But much more deeper than that is another concern that is there. We have two important things. One is the prana, which is the energy which is going in the outward direction. Another is chitta. Chitta is the inward direction. So therefore, basically, that when you look at the inward direction, our mind, etc., all these things are happening at the chitta level. In chitta, there are two ways of perception that is there in the human being, broadly divided. This is what Carl Jung also divides people broadly into. One is called as the people who are extrovert and some people are introvert. That means the chitta is there in between. It tries to go in the outward direction for its assurance, support, everything. And some people are there going towards inside. That's where basically the causal state that they can get. So these are the two different dimensions that are there in the case of common man. So therefore we see that the broadly common people are divided into two different psychologies. One is the extrovert and the other is the introvert. And extrovert people are the people that they look at the outside for their uh, yardstick. They see the yardstick outside, how much I did it, how much I worked it, how many things have happened. Very clearly, they say how many classes have been done, how many people are coming. When you look at this way, that means to say your interest is not on that. But your interest is not in the case of how much that people get convinced about what you say. It is inward. See, are you going by the extrovert or the introvert? Extrovert is also important in this world. Introvert is also important in this world. So people who are extrovert are the people who are convinced by Abhyasa. Discipline is the way they can easily convince. And discipline, they do it, it's like a assurance for them. It's like a milestone that they come across. So for their milestones is extrovert people is outside. Yes, I've done 108 Surya Namaskaras. Last year itself I did it. This year I do 100,008 Surya Namaskaras. See, this is what is basically the way extrovert measure that you go. This is what is the discipline is for the people who are extrovert. So introvert people are the people who think, plan, scheme, they're inside. They don't worry about outside. How many that you have done, they don't even count. They're not in that way. They're introvert. Usually scientists, researchers, they're all the introvert. Whereas the people who are there in the work outside and then the organizers, they are at the extrovert level. Nothing is wrong about it. They're fine. But recognize that these things are there. So provide a path of yoga also suitable for their nature. So now what happens is that one who has the extrovert nature, then you provide the yardstick, provide the practices, methods outside, extrovert, then they'll be able to be happy. And not only extrovert, but there you provide steps. The one step, the second step, third step, like that. That's why Patanjali has given Ashtanga Yoga. 8 angas are there. Whereas in introvert, there is nothing like angas. Even Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi doesn't have there like that. So, but extrovert requires all those things. 5 yamas, 5 niyamas, 7 yamas, 7 niyamas. So these are the things you need to do extrovert level. This is all for the extrovert people. If somebody says that I can't do all those things, leave it alone because his nature is not extrovert. But you can't afford to be lazy. That's another problem that is there. You can take an easy excuse of being a lazy extrovert. I'm not extrovert. No. Are you doing introvert? Because if you're a human being, either you're extrovert or you're introvert. There are no two things about there is nothing third about it.
So same division is there in the Rajasic pathway.
Yes,
And the third one is that being lazy.
Tamasic.
Tamas.
Lazy. So tamas can be either way, just swear that way. But Rajasic people are the people who are extrovert. Sattvic people are the people mostly they're introvert. So that's why people who are intellectuals, they don't worry about all these steps and all that. It was very nicely said that there during the Vietnam War, all the people were being drafted into uh, war in America. So professor was also brought, and then a big professor said, "You also join the army." So the captain was giving instructions to everybody. They were there in the platoon. So right turn, left turn, right turn, left turn. Go ahead, and then like, right about turn and all that. He did couple of 3, 4 instructions. Afterwards, the professor was just standing. He did not follow the instructions. I said, "Professor, why don't you follow the?" He said, "Tell me finally what I have to do it. I'm not interested in all these intermediate steps." Even the steps like dharana, dhyana, samadhi is too much for them. They just say, ask me to be peaceful, be peaceful. That's what is samadhi. I don't want to go for dharana, dhyana. So that is the kind of nature that who are introvert people. Introvert people are quiet, they're themselves. They think a lot. So these are, they analyze, they can do that. And the greatness of that is that whatever these people do, 10 steps in analysis, one analysis can take you beyond all these things. That's the advantage that, but why not everybody follow that way? No, because your nature is not like that. If your nature is not extrovert, I would like to sit down and do the introvert activity. You become lazy. This is where the laziness comes into the picture. Recognize your own nature so that you grow. Initially, we don't know how to recognize our nature. That's the reason why in Gurukul, the teacher will be there looking at your nature. He'll give you what kind of activity that you need to do it, whether it is extrovert connected or introvert connected. So therefore, basically that our psychology nature, according to that, these things are there. And as a child, we don't know our psychology. The teacher will know about the psychology by looking at observing the students. Like I remember very well that one of my all or second generation sibling all put together, 7, 8, 9 years children. Put all the children together and say that, okay, you keep playing, I'll just go out and come back. 5 minutes, I used to make this observation. I used to go out and then watch secretly. One girl of the group, she was saying, okay, no, I will take care of all of you. So you do what I would like to say that and you follow that. She's extrovert. And then she's the one who is disciplining. She needs in that. The other children, there are some who follow that. You see, she was saying, some children are very good. They say, okay, you tell what to do. 1, 2, 3, 4, we do it. And then and so appreciation is there, they're happy. Other children, why all these things? Let me sit down and play and do my Lego, whatever it is there. They would do their innovation, but they would not do this. You can see clearly the difference in the psychology of children, whether they are extrovert or introvert. So therefore, according to the psychology, extrovert practices, introvert practices are given in yoga. The methods of doing it. There is another very important aspect of it also. That is, extrovert people are the Abhyaasa is graded step by step by step that is there. You follow one and you follow second, you follow third. So this is how you do it. You finish 3. Yes, I'm happy that I finished 3 and 2 more are there. I finished 2 more and that will be done. It is like that. Some students are very good that way. That they say, I finished these subjects, I finished these things, now I can get marks like this, and then 2 more subjects are there, I finish it. But some people cannot do that. You ask them to sit down and do it, they're just lost into the. Did you finish this subject? No. What did you finish? No. But then what I'm following that. So that means to say they are in a total one mass. This is what is basically there are 2 different kinds of people that are there. The nature itself has that. One is called as the orderliness and the other is chaos. The nature is made out of 2 things. One is orderliness and chaos. That's how nature runs. If only orderliness, nature will not run. If only chaos also, nature will not run. I always used to think in my middle school, high school level that this, earth goes around the sun and all that is there. Yes, yeah, chaos coming in here. So, and the teacher would say that earth is earth rotation is 7.5 is here, 7.5 degrees tilted. You know that earth rotation is 7.5 years the same. As a result of it, what happens is that the sun's position shifts. That's the reason why. So I always used to think, and God made so many things perfect. He could have aligned this rotation also in the same way. Earth rotation and the axis of earth rotation around the earth, it should be the same thing. Around the sun should be the same thing. Why did he kept it this way? When I always used to question God about God, I'm thinking that I'm more intelligent than him. He could have taken my advice before doing that. Later I found he is wise because that 7.5 degrees makes all the seasons. Creation is possible because of that. That chaos is the cause for this creation. That orderliness is not there. So therefore, that in the nature itself there is this chaos. And nature there is orderliness, but at the same time chaos. Now you look at the whole nature, everywhere it is like that. Like for example, my hands, both the hands are looking alike. It's like orderly. 5 fingers, and then what finger is long, what finger is short. It's everybody's case, it is like that, orderly. But at the same time, fingerprints, when you take it, they're so chaotic. You can't imagine what kind of fingerprints that you will have it. And your fingerprints are unique. Billions of people are there, but nobody has the same kind of fingerprints that you have it. Chaotic. How extraordinary thing in the nature that you see, orderliness, simultaneously chaos should be there. Look at a leaf. The center leaf is there and it is exactly similar on either side. It's like a mirror image. But when you look deep into it, chaotic, totally chaotic. Everywhere it is like that, chaos and orderliness. The nature has both these things. There is a huge theory that is done on chaos. What is the difference between orderliness and chaos? Orderliness, one step to the next step to third step, you can predict it. It just goes. This, afterwards it happens like this, after that it happens. Chaos is that there's no connection between one step to the other step. It is just leap, suddenly leap. And that you can observe in a very simple thing, like a balloon that you are blowing. Until that you blow, the balloon will be growing. But finally a time comes when it bursts, you really cannot say when it bursts. You are waiting, and every time you think it is bursting, it doesn't burst. But next time when you are unaware of it, suddenly it bursts. Push you to the chaos. So this is how it is. Children growth also is like that, chaotic. Sometimes it is growth spurt. That means to say you grow orderly. Then afterwards you just don't grow. Suddenly a spurt comes. That's why I call it as growth spurt. And sometimes mothers feel anxious also. What is it for 2 months? That's my child. He's just like dull, same thing and doesn't develop. But suddenly the growth spurt. Doctors know about it. The growth has to happen. So both these things, what is happening is, the idea is that the growth in the external world, that's what is basically the idea of orderliness, is outside. Whereas chaos is happening inside. The change is happening inside. Look at that. Like, for example, your doubt is inside. And an idea comes, a thought comes, doubt is cleared. It happens inside. The doubt to clearance of the doubt, it is not orderly. Just a leap. Suddenly you were in doubt mode and suddenly you left. In fact, we went to that Sukumar. He said that when once this 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita came and that shloka, that Ap Brahma Bhuvana Loka. So that I heard the explanation. That day, it's like an expansion, it's an explosion, not an expansion, it's an explosion. My mind is completely blown that day. I said, I've changed personality. This happened almost like 30 years, 35 years ago. And that day when we met, he remembered that sutra, that story, that time when it happened, all those things he said. That is the kind of thing. So the nature itself has the orderliness and chaos, and every chaos will take it to a higher level. That's the reason why every abhyasa will give a leap into the next higher level. And that's what you see, the graduation between the the Brahmacharya to Grihastha. It's a big leap. It's not orderliness. Now I have learned so that therefore I can become Grihastha. No. There is something that has to happen within you so that the transformation has to occur. That transformation that occurs is something which is a big leap. That's what happens is the vairagya. When does it happen? How it happen? You really do not know. Child is happily playing. Suddenly one day he feels that he doesn't need all those things. And earlier when Sita is our coordinator in Detroit, her son is small. And then he would love to play with me marbles. I go to Detroit to give satsang for the adults. It doesn't matter to him. He'll wait till evening I finish all the satsang. Then he can catch me. For an hour we'll play marble. And then he made a big board saying that international marble tournaments, USA and India. India is represented by Raghunkal, and then everybody used to laugh at him. And he was playing. And I used to sincerely play with him, so that one time I lose it. He would say, last time when you came 3 times, you won. This time I'm going to win 3 times. I'm not going to allow you to win. All that he would say, as if I was going to Detroit only to play that marble tournament. He would tell to everybody that it was important. I don't know whether he remembers it or not. But suddenly a change occurred. Finished. Now there is no more marbles, no nothing, everything. He's become an engineer himself. So when did it happen? We really do not. It's just suddenly a leap. So Abhyasa will lead you to vairagya. How many houses I go that Lego are there? Children used to play. Suddenly everything goes into the attic. Now that's not there anymore. What was so important, now it is no more important. Everything happens in the life like that. Allow it to happen to go into the higher direction, not to go down. What happens is, what brings the abhyasa not to go up and to go down is when the abhyasa goes with the prayas, goes in the downward direction. And abhyasa is going with the shreyas, it goes in the upward direction. So as a society, as a gurukul, as a teacher, everybody has to support the child to see that abhyasa is always on the direction which is supposed to be shreyas, so that it becomes their own. It grows. This is one aspect of it. Second aspect of abhyasa is that if you do not give this turn in the upper direction abhyasa in the form of shreyas, then what happens? The abhyasa becomes, you get used to it, mechanical. Then you become robotic. You are doing robot. There are people who are doing various activities, the religious practices, everything in robotic way. Absolute stagnant. This is what he says, that jadatva. Jada is a state where you are not growing further because you don't have anything else outside. So therefore, abhyasa can become jadatva, and that's what basically, when jadatva it happens, then abhyasa does not give any more result. Any more result. It's only just waste of time, spending of time. You do all those things, rituals, and how many people do that kind of thing in the writing the japa, writing this thing? They become monotonous. So it is just an escape from the weight of the burden of time to get rid of that. They do all those things. It's not, then that means to say, an abhyasa of that nature that they do it, for the sake of getting rid of the burden of the time, does not give you the joy of doing it. Such an wonderful activity that can give you joy. Now it is reduced to a simple monotonous activity. It takes away it helps you to spend your time, but it does not help you to grow. Bhuktaye, nata muktaye. This is something that can happen. Unless until you are very careful about this abhyasa. That's why, unfortunately, what happened, this culture has given so many types of abhyasa, temples, temple visits, this, that, and all that, and doing the rituals at home. But so many people get caught up with these things in that way that they are just stuck there. Not only that, very happy, saying that I don't have to think of it. It just Rudra simply flows, Chamaka simply flows, all that Vishwasanama flows. Everything flows. But what happened to me? I became the same. There's no improvement in me. So now they come with a complaint. Earlier, I used to do my work. I was busy in my work and all those things. And then, in spite of busy in the work, that I used to do Rudra, Chama, this, that, and all those things, Sasanama, Lalita Sasanama, Vishnu Sasanama, and all those things. But now I don't go for work because I'm retired. But I do that. But that becomes so mechanical, monotonous, and I don't grow anywhere. The same restlessness is there within me. Unfortunately, this is what happens if you do not do these things. It's like a spiritual growth, upward journey has to be done. That's why Shastriji always used to say that the way that you do the activity abhyasa, sometimes do an abhyasa of not doing abhyasa. That's give a gap. Don't do it and see what happens to you. You don't do that. What happens to you? Will you be restless? Will you feel that there are two types of restlessness? One is that you're not engaged, therefore restlessness. Another thing is the guilt. I'm not doing this. That guilt restlessness is also there. How many ways that you need to understand this abhyasa and vairagya? Vairagya is something that we need to go in the upper direction, like the way that the staircase that you, very important, very stable step that you take, and then you put your weight on that, thinking that the weight, that you are safe, secured, everything on that step. And then you put the foot on the next step. After you give up this step, you have to give up, otherwise you cannot go forward. Whatever that is supposed to be safe does not, just because that you have gone to the next step, does not mean this step has become unimportant, useless, it's not stable anymore, nothing like that. So vairagya should not be at the cost of finding fault with the lower level, previous level. Go in the upper direction. Don't feel that negativity about previous level. Alphabets are important. Just see that you go to understand about the words, about the sentences, but does not mean alphabets you deny it, because they're necessary. It's a growth from that. They're the foundation. So the lower level steps are the foundation for going to the upper level. So therefore, that you have no condemnatory attitude towards the other things. Like for example, Brahmacharya ashrama to Grahastha ashrama, when I say that, Brahmacharya ashrama, we are not denying it. Don't find fault with that. Nothing wrong with that. Grahastha is something which is like graduation, that you go into the upper direction, a higher direction. So this growth is something which is basically the way that Abhyaasa and vairagya have to go hand in hand. Only vairagya, if you take it, then this is what happens. Like the way that without Abhyasa, or without being able to have a steady, stable place there, if you take vairagya, then that's when become laziness comes into the picture. So therefore, a person who is not doing an activity at the physical level, he should be doing it at a different level. The kind of an activity, kind of work that is involved, it must be going on there. Intellectual work or the emotional work or something like that, that's what needs to go on. Otherwise, what happens? He would have been lost for both, because the physical work is not doing, intellectual work is not doing, he is not engaged in that. As a result of it, what happens is that he becomes somebody who is a loser of both the ends. You are Trishanku, you are in the middle way. You cannot go back to do whatever that is there, and you cannot go to the higher level. So this is where basically you get stuck into that. So that's why
Repeat this Raghuramji once.
if you do not go to a higher level perception, higher level doing it, great the idea, then what happens is that you say that, okay, I don't want to do any more this physical activity, physical work, asanas, etc., physical, so that I'm fine, I'm okay. But then you're not go to a higher level. Then what happens is that you're stuck in between. See, this is what basically you get into hibernation. There is no growth, there is no development, only the time is spent. The time is spent. There is no use, there is nothing that is development taking place. That's why both these things are, in fact, Shasiji always used to say that err on the other side. That means to say, what physically that you can see outside, you can do it. Err on this side. Rather than saying that I've graduated now, I don't have to do all those things. No. Still handle the physical level, do the asanas, do the pranayama, do these things. Talk about that.
Don't give importance to it so much.
Yeah, don't give importance to that. But that you keep it for yourself. Err on the other side, err on the lower side, so that you can go into the upper level. Yoga Vasishtha suggests that. Yoga Vasishtha says that when we are not capable of going to the higher level, we recognize that early and then try to continue the practice at the lower level so that you graduate to go to a higher level. Your knowledge, your practice, your this thing is not sufficient enough to see that. You can go to the Vedanta. You can go to this. Lot of Vedantans stuck in that. They have not gone into Vedanta. They are not developed all those things. But the lower level that they left it, they think that they are graduated. They're enough. And then nowhere that they go. This work has to go on. Either you do at the prana level work or you do at the chitta level work, because the whole creation is nothing but activity. The whole creation is nothing but activity. Activity can be at the body level, activity can be at the chitta level. That's why you say, nahi kasyit kshanamapi jatu tishtat ya karmakrit karite yavashak karma. Sarva prakriti jai gunai. The gunas have given us, the ideas are there. Go ahead and do the activities. That's why Ramakrishna Paramahansa says that even a person who has completely self-realized, nothing else to be done, he also will have to sit and meditate. Hours of meditation. Why he has to do it? That's what Ramakrishna says. Even if it is a golden vessel that I have got it, I need to polish it so that it shines. I'm not improving the gold. Gold is there, but I have to shine it so that it shines. That's why these practices are there, this direction is there, so that you can shine. Otherwise, you have the knowledge, you have this thing, you have self-realization. A lot of people get stuck there. They have become, particularly there are ashrams, there are situations. They give you a promotion. And then you are a saint, you are a sannyasi, you are a mahanta, you are senior sannyasi, you are a junior. And then now the whole politics enters there also. Very difficult to get into.
So that is also an extrovertedness, no?
That also?
Extrovert.
Yes, it's also again extrovert. That's why I said, because that you turn extrovert, you have to have a practices outside to see that the gold also shines. Ramakrishna Paramahansa used to give that. Even the highest saint has to do the practices so that he can grow. That's why.
So that means there is always space for growth. That it's not like you're
Right. Yeah. Only time that you reach it there is when you leave this body. Anyway, or Avadhuta will reach that state. And Avadhuta is somebody who doesn't recognize anything. We had one person like Avadhuta who came to Prashanti at one point of time. He was very happy, joyful, and all that. For a long time, for almost like years, 2-3 years, they thought that he's a mad person. They put him in the Nimmans. Somebody went to Nimmans, realized that no, he's a very great saint and all that. Then he was brought to Prashant. We knew him as Ajja. He does that. So, and he would sit down happily, talk. And then you give him food. Food. I love food. And then he would bring the food. And then he would say that, get me one more plate. Yeah, this is very nice. And I'll take it tomorrow. And this is wonderful. This sabji is, it's yesterday also I ate the same thing. Can never keep it there. Finally, you take rice and rasam, nothing else. All those things are wonderful, but he will have that kind of a thing. He says, I'll take only this one. Please leave it. An extraordinary, wonderful person. Somebody has some questions? What happened? No.
Went off
Nothing.
sick, Prabhuji?
No, it's okay.
Oh, 1 second. Anand.
So that's why these two, Abhyaasa, vairagya, are the things which we introduce at the Brahmacharya level, Brahmacharya ashrama, so that when you are introduced into the world outside, you can use both these things, how to measure my progress. Annapurna Nagaraj. So that's what the question of how to. No, you don't have to, the measure is only this much that you see all these things are what? I said strengthen yourself. That's why the very first sutra which I said that a long time ago, that sahaviryam karavavahe, the food is something which strengthens your body, your muscles, your this and that. What is the spiritual knowledge strengthens you? Strengthens your confidence, your sanyama shakti, your inner power. This itself is the measure, saying that now I'm ready to go into the world safe. Not only that I'm safe, the world will be as safe with my being there. That one can see the confidence in himself. Like, for example, we become an engineer, you have the confidence to enter into the world as an engineer. After going through the training, medical training and apprenticeship training and all that, now you have a confidence to get into the world to become a medical doctor to whatever degree that you can do it. So basically the confidence is from inside. For a medical doctor, for an engineer or thing like a confidence comes from within. The same way for the spirit, for me to be a very solid, established unit in the society, I get the confidence from within. And that confidence takes me to the outside. That's what is the yardstick. That's a measure. No other measure is there. I've done so many things. No, measure is that whatever the self-confidence that you have. Finally, because I say that, it is the self-confidence is the one which protects. I always say that even in the child is protected by an inner confidence, inner this thing is there. Like for example, a mother is lost, mother is somewhere, the child will not move, stay there, because any step he takes may be dangerous. The child does not move until she sees or he sees the mother. See, that means what protects the child? The inner confidence that is there. Similarly, anywhere in the world that anything that is there, vulnerability is there. What protects you from the vulnerability? Your inner confidence. In fact, that's one thing that we need to have, that can we have confidence in the children so that the child will not misbehave? Not because that we are there, but the child consciousness will save her, control her. Otherwise, it's very difficult. Unfortunately, today's world gives such a big exposure. I mean, we say that today's world is giving exposure. Even those days, it was giving exposure in a different way. But then they had confidence from within themselves that was protecting them. So, therefore, essentially, that these things to develop yourself. Once you develop this at the Brahmacharya ashrama, that's why now you are given certain basic ideas to see that how you have to be in the society outside when you create a unit in the society. That's why we have said Satyam Vada, Dharmam Chara Swadhyaya Adhyatma Pramati. That means nothing else deviates you from these basic principles, which Snatakotsavata are the mantras that are given in Taittiriya Upanishad. We follow that. So that's why essentially that it develops the inner confidence. So how we can introduce this Brahmacharya Ashrama in today's life is to see that whether it is parents or the teachers or the education system or including the society outside should constantly give an idea that what gives them the confidence in the children in themselves.
Mm.
That's what we need to really build them up the right direction. Abhyasa and vairagya. That's what we need to do it. How we have to do it? Yes, we need to sit down and work out the details, but that's how it has to be done. It's not just accomplished just by starting one Gurukul here, one Gurukul there, or teaching some Veda, chanting this. That's a patchwork. But much more important thing is the work that goes in the form of the inner development that we need to develop. Then such an instrument is good for Grahastha. So hopefully next week we'll get into the Grahastha Ashrama and large area, huge area. Let's see what can happen, how much we can go.
If we have to say, how does one measure we have progressed is if we are in a state of peace and there is love within us, that means that whatever we are doing, the Abhyasa is
Peace and love within us. And another thing is that we are not, nothing
Extrovert.
outside world can attract us.
Mm.
Nothing in the world outside
Mm.
makes any attraction for us.
Mm.
Drifts us in our path of life. That's what
That
it
means
is.
we are going in the right.
Yes, we are in the right direction. In fact, look at the way Buddha's disciple,
Mm.
when he said Buddha, he came to some, said that a prostitute wanted that I go and stay in her house. Buddha said, yes, please go.
Mm.
Because it's, Chaturmasa, 4 months. So I would like to go and stay there. Please go and stay there.
Mm.
The Sariputra said, what is this? He's a young sannyasi and she's a beautiful girl. And then you ask her to go and stay there. If anybody else asks, I don't say that. But for him, I'll say it. Because you will see the result. 4 months later, that he comes back to Buddha along with that girl. Both of them become bhikshu. She became bhikshu now. That means he transformed her completely. It's not that he getting influenced by her, but his influence was there on her. Buddha looked at her, looked at him. He had that confidence. Then in words, so that when he comes back, he would have transformed her.
Sir, you were
Yeah.
mentioning about once you become graduate, don't become pleasant and things like that. That reminds me of V.V. Giri when he was the governor of Karnataka, or
Yeah.
at that time still Mysore. He
Yeah.
was conferring degrees in one of the convocations in Bangalore. And after conferring the degree, said, as the chancellor, the power vested in me, I am conferring the degrees for which we have been examined. However, I am going to charge you that you are only have been given a foundation, and I am charging you to build upon the foundation, and you don't become pleasant. And that is when I was trying to compare these days after having learned that Taittiriya Upanishad, Swadhyayan ma pramadaha. Yeah, so there's a interconnected, I can say that, because once you become graduate, put alphabet soup next to the name, we become arrogant.
Yeah. And you know what? That's, in fact, precisely that's the reason why you start feeling that you have responsibility of the society. There is no right, there is only responsibility. So I have insisted so much on this idea that this culture doesn't have a right, It only has a responsibility because you are now a responsible unit in the society outside. Now, about this training also, that looking at the nature of a person, the teacher would know what kind of training who has to get. So Kshatriya is given a rigorous physical training that necessary for Kshatriya. Brahmana is given such a training at the intellect level, he should go to any extent of intellectual jugglery that he can make it. There is no. Similarly, Vaishya is given such a training that what is the extraordinary, wonderful material, what is the use of it, how you can explore that, how we can exploit it, all that is given. Shudra is given training by the teacher himself to see that how you can accomplish various things which are supposed to be the idea of orderliness, cleanliness, bring about that. That's given. So the training used to differ for different people and discipline. That's what is the thing. If your nature is there and then discipline is there, they not only enjoy the discipline, but they grow in that discipline. They tremendously grow in the discipline so that now by the time that they enter into the society, we have these 4 different categories of the people, capacities that are there already built in. We never had hierarchy about these things. Unfortunately, that people have brought about this hierarchy. Ever since this hierarchy they brought about, we are suffering from all that kind of thing. But otherwise, there was no hierarchy.
You also talked about monotonous, no?
Yes.
If I see you, I can say that maybe you are monotonous, maybe. But how does one only know that I am being monotonous? Because you're having a self-check. Maybe
Yes,
that person can have
right.
a self-check. in that way.
Now, what happens is that
Hmm.
the self-check is this way, that
Hmm.
are you just doing it mechanically, or are you doing your whole passion behind it? That's why we have this idea called as the expertise that you should have it. Second thing is the responsibility you feel.
Mm.
And third is the passion in doing an activity. These 3 things make the
Even Karma Yoga, you
yes,
talk about it.
that's why these 3 things are necessary. Adhikara.
Mm.
Do I have the passion in doing it?
Sometimes it is only monotonous just for the sake of finishing it.
Yes, just for
People say, no, it's my duty
Right.
to do the cooking to serve the family, but
Yes.
it's not
No.
a passion.
It's not a passion. See, that's the reason why, like for example, if I'm teaching, if there are 100 people are there, and 1 person is there, my teaching doesn't change because passion in teaching. Passion doesn't depend upon the objective world outside. How many are there? Doesn't matter. Similarly, passion. I'm cooking for house, home people are cooking for some guests who have come, unwanted guests has come. Cooking has to be done with passion.
Basically, sometimes people become more enthusiastic when guests have come because
Yeah.
it is an extroverted validation.
Right. And they look for validation.
So that also is a self-check once in a while.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
important for a person to do it.
Yes. It should be passionately done. If there is no passion, am I living actually? Every moment there's a passion in any activity that I do.
But that passion comes only with some inner willpower and
Yes,
abhyaasa,
yes,
that kind
yes.
of things.
And the value that I give for the work that I do. I myself give the value, not somebody else validates
Yes.
my work. I give value for the work that I do. Like folding the cloth. I just give a simple. I take such a pleasant, I enjoy doing that so much. I fold the clothes and then put it for washing. It's washing clothes. The lady in Prashanti asked, Appa, is it for washing or is it just ironed clothes? I said, no, they're for washing. She said, I don't feel like opening it before washing. The way that you fold it and keep it. Passion in doing it.
So if I have to ask you, if somebody asks you a question, how does one develop passion?
Passion develops because the simple thing is you enjoy every moment of life. Life is celebration becomes a passion. Look at the simple thing, celebration. It's a passion of life. I see in the marriage festivals, marriage functions. And girl will be taking something and going around. I said, what is this? They said that find out that yellow thread for this particular thing. I'm going running around finding out the yellow thread because it's very important for this ceremony that they wanted to do. And then she's running. And then I say, no, I'll come back and talk to you. And then she goes round and round. Without that yellow thread, this whole thing will be going on. But the passion I'm doing for the sake of wedding, that's important.
The just in life.
Yes, just in life. Just in life. This is what in Sanskrit it's very beautiful. Jiveshana. In fact, the mantra says so beautifully, Jivema Sharadashatam, Nandama Sharadashatam, Modama Sharadashatam. That means let me live 100 years. Sharadashatam, 100 years. Sharadashatam. Jivema, with life. Nandama Sharadashatam, with the joy that I live every moment that I live. 100 years. And Modama Sharadashatam, that means to say, anybody comes across me should feel that, wow, happy about that.
You actually have that energy.
Yes,
which will be contagious.
yes, contagious, it's spreading out. Jivema Sharadashatam, Nandama Sharad. This is what is the Ashirvada that we give to the people actually. People come and both live for 100 years, live for 100 years, grand. Live for 100 years with that joy and spreading the joy outside. Jivema Sharadashatam, Nandama Sharadashatam, Modama Sharadashatam. Moda means you spread this goodness, happiness to the others.
It comes from Muda.
Moda.
It's a good slogan. It's a good,
Yes.
beautiful quote.
Yes, beautiful quote actually. ಇದು ಆಶೀರ್ವಾದ ಮಂತ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಆಶೀರ್ವಾದ ಮಂತ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಜೀವ ಶರದಶ್ರುತಂ ಬಂದ.
You live for 100 years, have the
100 years. Sharadah Shatam. Sharat means, Shatam Sharadaha. Actually, Sharat means basically spring. 100 springs.
Nice.
The spring is giving out life.
Yeah. Jeva Sharadah Shatam.
It comes in Sandhyavana mantra also, Madhyanika.
Madhyanika.
Yeah.
Live for 100 springs, second one.
Yeah, 100 springs. You live 100 springs happily, joyfully. And 100 springs, you live such a way that the joy should be contagious to everybody. And all these mantras are that I don't know why people become so serious. I feel so sad about it. I'm the only person who seems to be happy all the time.
We are in Abhyaasa mode.
Yeah. Good. In fact, this is what happened in Germany. One of the psychiatrists, that girl, she was a psychiatrist, they become so negative, cynical. He said, everything you look at positive and all these things, but so many things happened. World wars happened. He said, world wars happened, but everything has subsided. Now everybody is happy. So that means to say the happiness is more than the world wars. The damage, she could not have an answer like that. And at the end of the whole workshop, she said, Raghuram, the whole problem with you is that you look at everything in a positive. I said that I look at as my quality, and you look at as my problem. There also, I'm positive, you're negative.
Just look at a person thinking that, okay, now what is your problem?
What's your problem? Then, that girl, 3 months later, she wrote me a mail, those days later. Raghuram, what you said was simply ringing in my ears. And I see that how happy you are. I want to inculcate that, what you said. So I will not have any questions. I will come and stay with you 1 full week or 10 days, whatever it is there, in Heidelberg. In the same house where I'm living, I will also come and live. Be with you. just observing you all the time, 24 hours. Okay, fine. She came and lived with me. And she said, my God, this living has transformed me.
Mm.
Now, what is she doing?
She's a psychiatrist and she's continuing. But then she became positive.
Her attitude changed.
Attitude changed. For staying 1 week with me, 10 days with me. Wow. Sahvasa dosha. Okay. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Right.
With enthusiasm, I had a